Hello, class. Welcome back to week two of this video discussion board session concerning Sir Douglas Haig and the British Expeditionary Force. This week, I kind of want to step back from Sir Douglas Haig and focus more on the British Expeditionary Force and its overall creation and the reason why it was created. Sir Douglas Haig, although is an important figure to this dissertation, he's also the focus head, obviously. However, it's very important to understand what kind of army he inherited from Sir John French in 1916. Up until 1916, Sir John French was the overall commander-in-chief. Sir Douglas Haig rose from 2nd Corps commander in the beginnings of the war in April of 1914 up until 1st Army commander up in 1915, ultimately taking over the BAF in 1916. So let's talk about the BAF. The British Expeditionary Force was created in 1907, and its creation was from several different reforms from different military observers and also the Secretary of War, which was Richard Haldane. Also, the Boer War of 1899 to 1902 was a major factor in the creation of the British Expeditionary Force. However, history serves, the Boer War was like any other conflict that the British really had fought up to that point, up to World War I, which was colonial warfare. The British Empire was still, a colonial empire. It had colonies all over the world. Therefore, it created a very small but well-disciplined army to go overseas to its colonies and basically have a show of force or put down any rebellions, such as the Boers. The Indian Mutiny of 1888, sorry. That's what the BAF was created for, was to have that type of influence, if you will, over its colonies. The BAF was never created to fight a continental war like World War I was going to be. Its reformers had every inclination that there was going to be a war. Armies were mobilizing all across Europe. New technology was coming out. Armies would, come and bolster up their frontiers against other nations and then fall back again. War was coming. Everybody knew about it. But for whatever reason, the British didn't really take heed to that warning. So and you can tell in the creation of the BAF. Some of the research out there that I have found and I have done before, I have 4 up right now that I'm really looking into, all deal with strategy and creation and why the BAF was created. Authors such as Sean Grimes, Bryce Poe, and Tim Travers have all written extraordinary pieces when it comes to the British Expeditionary Force and the building and the actual what it was made for. Sean Grimes in his Combined Operations and British Strategy in 1900 to 1910 really see that the BAF was only created to go and rapidly deploy to any nation or any colony to help out and to subdue a rebellion or to have a show of force. It was not created for continental warfare. So I think it's a very key point to have and to understand that when the BAF sailed for France in August 1914, it did so woefully undermanned, woefully under-equipped, and woefully unprepared for a continental war. It was not made for that. During this time frame, also, the British was still a heavy naval power. The Royal Navy was the main jewel of the British people. I mean, there's writings about it all over the place where it says basically that, the army will fall in line, but Britain relies on its navy. And that's the planning, that's the operational planning that the British government and the War Department had up until World War I, was that don't worry about it. We'll send the BAF over, but the major battles will be on the sea and our Royal Navy will destroy anybody out there. So you can kind of see what kind of army that Sir Douglas Haig would inherit in 1916. It was still a colonial army. It was not really prepared for this type. And I think it's very important to really dig deeper into this foundation of the creation of the BAF. Eventually, obviously, the BAF would turn into, a very successful fighting force after 1916. But up until the critical points at the start of the war in 1914, the BAF was strictly a colonial force. It was not made for colonial warfare. So thank you very much, and I will see you next week.